dive. Today, we're really getting into the weeds of Java web application development.
Specifically using Springboot, right?
Exactly, Springboot. Our goal here is simple. Cut through the jargon and give you a real shortcut to understanding the tech, the architecture, the methods behind the web apps you probably use constantly.
Yeah, the ones working behind the scenes.
Now, Java itself is incredibly versatile. I mean, people use it for desktop apps, mobile, huge enterprise systems.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And cloud stuff too, right? AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, it runs everywhere.
It really does. But for this deep dive, we're focusing. We need to narrow it down.
Definitely. So while Java does all that, today it's all about web applications. Built with Java, built with the Spring Boot framework.
And why that focus?
Well, it's just such a massive area. So much of the modern web runs on this stack. And Spring Boot, it makes building robust Java web apps, well, much, much faster. Streamlined.
Okay, so faster, more efficient. If you're building these things, you need a toolkit. What are we talking about? What's essential?
Right, the toolkit. Okay, so number one, obviously, Java, the language itself.
The foundation.
Precisely. Then you need an IDE, an integrated development environment. Think Eclipse, IntelliJ.
These aren't just text editors.
Not at all. They're like command centers for coding.
Right.
Smart completion, debugging, everything integrated. Huge productivity boosters.
Okay, Java IDE.
Yeah.
What else?
Build tools, Maven or Gradle. These manage all your project dependencies, libraries, and needs, and handle the whole build process, making sure everything fits together.
Like a project manager for the code itself?
Sort of, yeah. And you absolutely need Git for version control, tracking changes, collaboration. It's non-negotiable today.
Makes sense. Now, data. Apps need data. How do we connect Java to databases without, writing endless SQL?
Good question. That's where ORM comes in, object relational mapping.
Like Hibernate or JPA.
Exactly, Hibernate and JPA, the Java Persistence API. They act as a bridge. They let your Java objects talk to relational databases, MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL, whatever, much more easily.
So less raw SQL, more Java code dealing with data.
Yeah, it simplifies things a lot. And finally, you need a web server like Apache Tomcat to actually serve your application up so people's browsers can reach it.
Tomcat.
Right.
Handles the web requests.
Okay, connecting these pieces. I hear REST APIs mentioned constantly. Why are they so important?
REST APIs, representational state transfer. They're basically the standard way for different software components to talk to each other over the web, like a common language.
Using standard web protocols.
Exactly. HTTP methods like get, post, put, delete. It allows different services, maybe written in different languages even, to communicate effectively. It's fundamental for building scalable apps, especially microservices.
Microservices, yeah, we hear that a lot too.
Yeah.
Okay, stepping back a bit. Who are these applications actually for? The users seem critical here.
Absolutely critical. You generally think in terms of B2C business to customer, like an online shop.
Right.
B2B business to business, maybe a supplier portal. And then you have admin users, the internal folks managing the system. And that influences the architecture.
Definitely. So you have the client side. That's what the user sees and interacts with. The browser, maybe a mobile app.
Often built with things like React, Angular, Vue.
Precisely. Those front-end frameworks make the UI dynamic and responsive. Then you hit the back end. That's where our Spring Boot application lives.
Okay.
And it's usually layered. You have controllers handling the incoming requests, like traffic cops.
Got it.
Then service layer classes hold the actual business logic. The rules, the processes, that's the core functionality.
And the thinking happens?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And then a repository layer, often using Spring Data, JPA, or Hibernate, that specifically handles talking to the database. MySQL, Oracle, Postgres,
right,
whatever you're using.
So controller, service, night, repository, database. That's the flow.
That's a very common pattern, yes.
Yeah.
Keep things organized.
But apps don't live in isolation, right? There are external connections too.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. Payment gateways are essential for e-commerce. Many apps pull in data from third-party APIs, like Maps or Weather. And almost all use email or SMS services for notifications. It's a whole ecosystem.
So putting this all together, it's not just code. There's a process. You mentioned Agile.
Yes. Agile methodologies are very common. It's about flexibility and delivering value incrementally.
User stories, sprints, that sort of thing.
Exactly. You break down requirements into small user stories. Teams work in focused bursts called sprints to deliver working software quickly.
And different roles involved.
Yeah. You've got developers, obviously.
Yeah.
Tech leads guiding the technical side. Testers ensuring quality. Business analysts translating needs. It takes a team.
And tools to manage it all.
Tools like Jira are huge for tracking stories and sprints. And GitHub, or similar platforms, are vital for managing the code itself, the repositories. Collaboration is key.
So for you listening, we've covered a lot of ground: the core Java tech, the Springboot framework, the layers of architecture from the UI right down to the database, and even how projects get managed. It's quite intricate, but also really powerful when it all works together.
It really is. And it makes you think, given all these layers, the internal components, the external systems all talking, often via REST APIs, what's next? How might communication or deployment evolve, especially as we see this big push towards microservices? How does breaking things down even further change this picture we've just painted? That's something interesting to consider.